As I told you, everything started for me in 2007. When working in my psychological coach, I definitely decided not to ban anymore my creativity. The first result of this decision was Organic Code, a winning national competition project for the extension of an amusement park in Milan suburb. This project was very important for me, not just for the winning, but for the fact that I was actually able to let my creativity express itself and let it emerge some of my deep themes that become visible and recognizable for the first time in my life. There were basically three: the power of the emptiness, the void, the hexagram identity, and the nature of horizon, the horizontal lines. Since then ahead, they have been the full of my creative desire, together with some of other themes I discovered along the way. The power of emptiness is probably the deepest theme in my subconscious research. In this project, the center of the spiral generates the void in the middle of the complex, and around it grows architecture like an organic code process. The void is the source of every kind of energy in this architecture. It is the focus point looking at the building and the hybrid indoor-outdoor space looking out from the building. Romans actually invented architecture as they discovered the power of buildings to define an interior space, like in the main hall of Domus Aurea and later on in the Pantheon in Rome, the inside space. Frank Lloyd Wright also said that architecture is not the built walls, but actually the space, the empty space between them. But in this project appears also another important theme of my creative identity, which is what I've called hexagram. The word is a neologism I had to invent in order to evocate this theme from the deepness of the existence. Literally, it means an external envelope with symbolic power. In this case, the ensemble of green ribbons that sprang from the earth outside is the hexagram, a built envelope that became a three-dimensional icon of the building itself. The basic architectural element able alone to define a strong and memorable architectural identity. The third theme was the nature of horizon, the power of horizontal lines. This theme is just inside my sensitivity linked to the Mother Earth. It comes from the love and the admiration again for the work of Frank Lloyd Wright, and this way to let the architecture rise from horizontal lines to the ground. He was actually able to decompose the architecture elements and let them prosecute beyond architecture in the nature and in the land. This created an incredible pleasant feeling of harmonious continuity between nature and architecture. I find this a more intellectual, evolute way to link architecture to the nature, rather than using trees to fully hide the buildings as many are used to do nowadays, just to say they are green. Following these creative needs, in this project, the facades became roofs and they glide softly from being vertical lines to the building, merging with the horizontal line of the ground. The nature of horizon appeared also in other projects in my professional practice. It is actually very powerful in bringing order and unity in the architectural image. I remember how the horizon line helped in finding the right connection between the cylindric shape of a motorbike factory I designed and the volumes of production and offices just next to it. Or in another case, when I needed to find a way to accomplish the client request to have a stone facade for his office building, with my willing to have an architecture based on lightness and technological feeling, in order to symbolize the aerospace production of that factory, of that company. While I'm telling you about these cases, I become aware that in both cases, when I use horizontal lines, there is an identitarian target. I think this is a very important target for creativity in architecture design. Elaborate a storytelling and a design content that can be perceived as an identitarian value for the user. This creates a sort of empathy and sense of belongings between users and architecture. The way the deep themes evolved is very interesting. It is a sort of growing process in which they are fed from any kind of intellectual influences and inspiring elements, whatever they are, images or text or even movies or readings. This evolution can bring to a more clear evidence and awareness of the theme in the following work, or it can also generate a totally new theme to investigate. This project allowed me to start the Chinese adventure, in which I found a fertile environment to let the creativity develop. There was the years of before the Beijing Olympics in 2008, and in 2010 was already planned the Shanghai World Expo. That was the topic moment for China, the time when they were wide open to the ideas from abroad. China in those years was the most interesting experimental laboratory for architecture in the entire world. The first project was Jinggu City Competition, an urban design architectural contest for a 75,000 inhabitant satellite city. I won that competition. It was a great occasion to let the creative energies to explode, imagining an entire city. Many suggestion was ongoing in those years in China. Rem Koolhaas, Stephen Hall, and many other masters architects were operating in that moment in a booming China society. In all their works, he was able to find inspiring traces of creativity freedom. And this joyful and intellectual dense environment let the deep themes in my creativity grow and change. I was compellingly attracted from the incredibly high level of symbolism in Chinese thinking and culture. The Chinese legends full of symbolic meanings, the Chinese writing itself was fascinating me and obsessioning me at the same time. The possibility to reconceive the idea of landmark in architecture, avoiding the cliché of skyscraper in order to use a more Chinese way to design a symbol, become a fixed thought in my creative process. This was the spark to let the power of void, deep theme, evolve in a more powerful way. The landmark building of this project was the result of this intellectual storm. A symbol in the shapes of a building, an urban ideogram, based on the power of emptiness and linked with the legend of the place. The empty in the center was not anymore just horizontal, but become vertical and become the whole of the entire city axis. I used the storytelling to express and link the architectural figuration of the building to the legend of the Double Seventh, a love story, a traditional love story between a farmer and a fair that introduced to my creative storytelling another important theme, the cultural sustainability. It is somehow involving the subconscious of the people, and this opened a passage to the souls of the people, in which entering with the content that it should be linked to their cultural identity. This is why I was able to elaborate not just a video for the project, but also a cartoon that was extremely successful in letting work the power of emptiness also as communication channel to the users. This cartoon links the shape of the building to the two characters of the legend, and until today it is the most viewed video of my YouTube channel. It was the main reason for me to win this competition and persuading the judges in letting this project become the first prize.